As gaming has matured as a medium, it has welcomed with it more ambitious and expansive uses of world building and storytelling. However, the focus hasn't always been cute and cuddly. With developers making lore a bigger part of our collective investment, we've seen more mature and, frankly, horrifying pieces of background history come to the surface. Whether repulsive experiments inside supposedly safe nuclear warhead shelters or serial killers that stalk children around the halls of pizzerias, there's reams of chilling hidden lore that shines a creepier light on many of your favourite games. It is certainly not always sunshine and rainbows with Nintendo, let me tell you that. My name is Rach and welcome back to WhatCulture Gaming. These are 9 video games with seriously morbid background lore. Number 9. Fallout. Although Fallout is known as a franchise with a wry sense of humour, and no, I'm not referring to how much of a joke Fallout 76 turned out to be, there's a dark, sinister undercurrent that runs beneath all of its entries. Sure, there are areas out in Fallout's wasteland that hold all manner of terrifying lore tidbits, yet little of the game's deeper lore can match that of the vaults. These pre-war bomb shelters may have kept thousands alive after the surprise nuclear annihilation of Fallout's America, but they also double up as horrific experiments that test human psychology among other far more grotesque procedures. From forcing inhabitants to perform a barbaric, democratic annual sacrifice to creating a mutating chemical agent that transforms people into crazed, lunatic monsters, these vaults are dark. While the world of Fallout has always been a dangerous place, its vaults remind you that humanity itself is crueler than any Deathclaw. Number 8. Bioshock. Bioshock has always been a franchise centred on deep world building and storytelling, and thus its worlds have been littered with all sorts of lore. Rapture, and to a lesser extent Columbia, is filled with macabre little secrets, whether that be doctors embedding sea slugs into the stomachs of young girls to create the monstrous Little Sisters, or Frank Fontaine fostering the embryo of Andrew Ryan's illegitimate child to turn him into a mind-controlled sleeper agent. Every story, environment, or character comes with disturbing implications. The fallen metropolis occupied by drug-addled maniacs, men transformed into mindless mechanical behemoths, and children that plunder mutilated corpses for genetic-enhancing drugs. It's a world that reflects the danger of human curiosity and the horrors of science without empathy. Many of the hidden audio logs drum into you just how twisted this world is, elaborating on Andrew Ryan's violent rise to power and the city's fast descent into a dog-eat-dog world where Adam is deemed more valuable than human life. Good thing we've got a few of those here at WhatCulture. Number 7. Splatoon. Yes, Splatoon may look like family-friendly fun, but beneath its simplistic surface layer is a dark secret. One that changes how you'll view this seemingly innocuous game of paint wars forever. Collect all of Splatoon's hidden scrolls, and it doesn't take long to realise that this game's colourful world has a majorly dark history. Turns out that Splatoon doesn't take place in a fictional universe. It takes place after our world was wiped out by rising sea levels, meaning that the battlegrounds our squid friends fight upon are built upon the remnants of mass human extinction. The design itself implying the animals slowly grew to seize our place in society. We also learn that the rise of the Inklings hasn't always been fun and games, their past including a devastating war with an evolved form of octopus known as the Octarians, who tried to stake their claim on the overworld. The moral of the story? Well, maybe we should all just start doing our bit for climate change, if you know what I mean. Number 6. Portal. Portal has always been a franchise cherished for its witty humour, clever puzzle design, and addictive core mechanic. However, Portal has also got a lot of world building to complement its central gameplay aspects. Some of this boils down to why you're trapped with a psychopathic AI, and some even link it to the events of Half-Life, but most surprisingly, a lot of the game's lore descends into some dark places. Venturing off the beaten path will net you a much deeper insight into the horrific goings-on at Aperture Science. One sees the player come across the home of a paranoid schizophrenic scientist named Doug Ratman, the only known survivor of GLaDOS' sadistic mass extermination of the lab workers, who now hides in the walls of Aperture Laboratories. Ratman's deluded drawings are unsettling enough to find, but what's even creepier is when you can hear him rustling and talking to himself from within the walls themselves. Number 5. Pokemon. Much like Splatoon, Pokemon doesn't emit a dark tone. The colourful fantasy creature collector is renowned for its adorable roster of pocket monsters, stunning animated landscapes, and tactical turn-based battles. However, exploring the various regions presented throughout each of the games comes with its fair share of darker lore and mysterious subplots. For one, a long-past Pokemon war is mentioned by numerous different NPCs, many recalling the skirmish regrettably. One gym leader, aptly named Lieutenant Surge, references his days in the army numerous times, claiming how electric Pokemon saved his life, while other older members of the game's villages remark about the horrible memories they retain from this mysterious conflict. Another more morbid turn comes from NPCs claiming there were times where Pokemon used to live in harmony with humans, being seen as their equal and sharing a table with their now masters. It would imply that Pokemon were eventually enslaved and domesticated by their overlords, made to battle one another for human entertainment when they used to be measured as equals. Take with it that many Pokemon themselves harbour creepy backstories. For example, one disguises itself as a Pikachu because its actual appearance is so terrifying that it'll literally kill anyone that looks at it. It's clear the Pokemon universe isn't as cute and cuddly as it first seems. Pikachu. Number 4. Silent Hill. Granted, Pyramid Head and the bandaged nurses that stalk the town's eerie hallways are pretty terrifying, but it is the context behind these monsters that makes the world so utterly morbid, as they are built from the fears and weaknesses of those that they are haunting. The aforementioned Pyramid Head represents Silent Hill 2 protagonist James's aggressive and violent thoughts, the monster committing unspeakable acts that reflect his repressed violence. Another enemy in the game, the horrific mannequins, also mirror James's personality, representing his carnal, masculine urges. There's also the town's backstory itself. Built on an Indian burial ground, Silent Hill started as a quaint town, but was soon transformed into a hellish nightmare after a demonic cult attempted to resurrect a demonic presence through the body of a young girl. From here, the story just gets darker and darker, the cult attempting to burn the girl alive to summon the demon before locking her away in a hospital basement for years. Number 3. Soulsborne. While the creepy bosses, barren worlds, and elusive NPCs appear to merely exist to instill an underlying feeling of cryptic dread, in reality they actually weave a very morbid tale. This comes with its share of disturbing background lore. From the tragic story of the Witch of Izalith, who was consumed by her attempts to maintain the Age of Fire, becoming malformed into a hideous monster in the process, to an ancient race of gods in Bloodborne known as the Great Ones that impregnate humans with their unborn children, these games are filled with deliciously horrifying backstories. The main narratives are no slouches either. Dark Souls following a cyclical process of human sacrifice to maintain the Age of Fire, while Bloodborne sees the player forced to end a nightmarish haunt by a host of terrifying godly creatures. Regardless of which of Miyazaki's games that you look at, the narrative running beneath is even more terrifying than your first fight with Ishin the Sword Saint. Well, almost as terrifying. Number 2. Undertale. Undertale is definitely a story of two playthroughs. Journey through the game as a peaceful visitor that merely wants to save the kind inhabitants of the underworld, and you'll discover a wholesome tale about friendship and love and forgiveness. However, journey down the path of violence and you'll experience something very different. This path uncovers a lot of the darker elements of Undertale's cutesy world, changing your entire perspective of its story and its characters. For one, a demonic presence lurks in the shadows known as Chara, the demonic spirit of another child to fall into the game's labyrinthian underworld. They're the real villain behind the scenes, and if you are to play the game with the intention of pure evil, they slowly intertwine with the protagonist. Follow through with their plan and kill all of Undertale's friendly residents, and Chara will eradicate the world, leaving nothing but a black screen and the whistling wind. They aren't finished, however. Start a whole new game and play to the credits and Chara's presence will be entirely clear. They are forever intertwined with the protagonist's soul, no matter how many times you try and start over. Number 1. Five Nights at Freddy's. Although it did start as simply Jump Scare the Game, Five Nights at Freddy's became an internet phenomenon within weeks of hitting digital stores. Partly because its jump scare focused nature was a breeding ground for reactionary YouTube material, but also because of its deep lore becoming a massive internet talking point. Beginning as a story about creepy animatronic animals stalking a night watchman in a pizza restaurant, the deeper lore behind these horror games has grown exponentially, implementing a mysterious murderer known as the Purple Man, a roster of terrifying Chuck E. Cheese-inspired animatronics, and the angry spirits of children returning to exact revenge from beyond the grave. And this was merely the beginning. Creative director Scott Cawthon expanded the game with every sequel, and included a ton of in-depth lore that cultivated a wide fanbase. The game's fourth entry, for example, turns out to be set inside a coma after the main protagonist sees himself trapped in the closing jaws of an animatronic. While the third game's confusing series of minigames actually reference numerous children being lured to the back room of a pizzeria by a mysterious predatory killer. You'll never look at a teddy bear the same way again. There we have it, folks. Thank you so much for watching. You made it to the end of the list. If we've missed any, be sure to add them in the comments below. You can follow us on Twitter at WhatCulture Gaming, or you could follow myself at Don't Rage Quit. Guys, take care of yourselves, have an awesome day, and we will see you tomorrow. Bye!